My name is Alfonso Al Beatty. I'm 74 years old. I was born in Phoenix, North Carolina, which is part of Nebraska, North Carolina.
My name is Harold Beatty. I'm 87 years old, and I was born in Phoenix, North Carolina. Grew up on the farm in Leland, Nebraska now, and we had a wonderful childhood, but we never knew very much what was going on in our surroundings because we never traveled out of that little community that we lived in.
How was it?
We just didn't have the transportation, plus it wasn't nowhere to go. We all stayed centrally located in that one little area. Only place we went was to school, to church, and back home. We had no kind of recreation and no kind of rec facilities, anything like that. We made our own.
Did your parents, did they migrate to Leland because of 1898, or is that something totally separate?
That's something totally
Okay.
separate. They were born and raised in that area, so that's the reason we grew up over there.
And how many siblings did you have?
I had 4 siblings.
So it's 6 of y'all together.
7. It was 7 of us all together. 2 of my siblings died in infancy, or very young. My mom was just a regular housewife. My father worked at fertilizer factories and a farm for a living.
Now, your siblings, were they all male?
All male siblings. Five of us survived.
So what was the family dynamic like growing up? Because y'all was raised on the farm?
We were raised on the farm.
And what was that dynamic like? Dynamic like living on the farm, and then also the dynamic of your parents?
Growing up on the farm, we all had chores to do daily. We had a mule that we had to be fed. We had
A mule?
A mule.
Oh, wow, okay.
We had chickens that had to be fed. We had hogs that had to be fed. So we, at the early stages, we cooked all the meals with wood that we had to bring on the yard, chop, haul in the house. We also did other things with wood around there. We had a smokehouse that once we would kill the hogs, we would salt them down and hang them in a smokehouse and smoke the meat. My mom, my brother said she was an ordinary housewife. We like to think that she was a little bit more than that. She would can fruits around there, apples, and oranges, whatever we could get off the land, we would. My father was not only did he work at fertilizer factory, he was a laborer at the Babcock and Wilcox, which is a baller manufacturing company here in the area. So each sibling had their own job to do. Sometimes the jobs would rotate around, but even when we had to bathe at night, we didn't have a regular bathroom. We had foot tubs, and we had to wash in tubs.
What's a foot tub?
It's a round tub that you probably see it on the westerns.
Okay.
So it's not before the bathtub, because we didn't have a bathroom. We had outside facilities at that particular time in life. So the water had to be heated, and like I said, there was 5 of us. So everybody kind of used the water.
Oh my!
Couldn't change the water between baths at that particular time.
What do you mean? So if you washed your body, then somebody would come in.
Exactly. Behind you until you,
All five of us.
all 5 of us. My mom she would make soap. We had a wash pot outside. If she would do laundry day, we had to pump the water, hand pump. We had pumped water for her to wash, and that's how we survived around there. We basically grew our own vegetables, and growing up, the dynamics of that was that we had our uncles, which my father's brothers lived within the same community, and we shared a lot of times on the workload there. One of the things that I remember distinctly is that during the summer we would plant peas and beans and stuff like that. We would harvest them as a joint community, and they would bring them over to Wilmington at the market and sell them, and that's the way we raised funds to go school clothes.
Oh, wow.
Go back to school. Speaking of school, we didn't have the luxury of having several pair of shoes, several pants. So if you got a good coat and 2 or 3 pair of pants and a good shoe, that had to last you.
Wow.
One of the things that we remember once summer came from the school, you would come home, pull off your shoes, and you wouldn't put them back on until you go back to school. So you were barefoot all summer. Yes, that's the way we lived.
Even outside, or
particularly outside. So we were barefoot the whole year, and that's the way we lived. Everybody in the community, that was common. That was just common for us to do. So we were poor financially, you might say, but we had a rich childhood as far as the love and the things that were handed down to us. And it was a close-knit community. Everybody, you hear the terminology, it takes a village to raise a child. We were in a village. We could go and to the furthest farm in the community, and if mom stepped in the backyard and called your name, you heard it.
Oh, wow.
So it was that close. But it was like a community.
Right. What schools did you go to? I was talking to Mr. Mapson earlier, and he was saying he was one of the first people to be in a desegregated school system. So did you guys experience that? Like, what schools did you guys go to school? In Wilmington, in Leland? How was that?
I went to my first year to a Rosenwald school, and that's a school that was built for the education of blacks in the South because of the segregation of Jim Crow laws. After the first year, I went to high school, which was grades at that particular time 1 through 12, and I stayed segregated until my junior year. I went to the Freedom of Choice to the white school, which was within less than a mile from that school. But the principal came back over, and he convinced me to come back to the black school, which I did, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
Because of the camaraderie that we had there. Plus, I drove a school bus and got paid.
So you had a choice. You could choose.
Yes. Yeah, that's what they call it. They call it freedom of choice. That's what they call it.
So that means that you experienced both a desegregated and segregated school.
I did.
What was the pros and cons of each?
The pros was that I had a chance to see what the other kids were doing and the teachers. And I saw where the hand-me-down books came from for the black school. The cons were everything was still segregated per se. And I was the first person to integrate the basketball team.
Oh, wow.
Over there. So
how did they treat you?
I'm going to give you an example of how, and I thought about this.
Yeah.
And I don't really talk about it, but I told my father that I was on the basketball squad, and he said, well, that's fine, son. So I convinced him to come to a basketball game. That was a lot of convincing because he knew that he'd probably be the only black person in the whole gym besides myself. Right. So the coach saw that he did come. Do you think the coach put me in to play?
I hope so.
No.
Wow.
No. So that was blatant racism. With that, he did it on purpose.
Right.
Yeah. But me and my pop, he understood. I understood. So
What grade was this?
11th grade. So this is about 67, 1967 per se.
Okay.
So that was the indicator of that. Classroom-wise, work-wise, I could handle that. So I was on the honor roll and a merit student on that. So that's why one of the reasons the principal from the black school wanted me to come back over there. He didn't want all his brain power to be drained over there. So, racism was still rampant. It was still there. They still were trying to poison your mind to Jim Crow area, but we never let that deter us. And even today, it's still not where it needs to be, and we're not going to stop moving ahead even today.
I did a video. I'm not sure if you guys saw the 688 movie or if you know about that. I had honestly never heard of 688 until I saw that movie, which is what prompted me to kind of want to start having these conversations to get more of, the stories from, generations before out. One of the questions that I posed in that video was, were black people better before segregation? Now, ironically, a lot of older black people were in the comments saying that they were better before segregation. Do you agree with that?
No, not really. I think there are some very positive things that was before integration. You had a cohesiveness of the community per se, because you weren't allowed to do anything different from that. But that's to say that the opportunities, the full band of opportunity was not there for you. After integration, then you could move and progress. You could beyond being a teacher or a pastor, those type of things. Businesses open up that you could do. And just like you were doing the podcast, that was not there for us to do. We were not allowed in public facilities that we should have been allowed in. So from that regard, I would say things are better today, because of that. But now the school situation is, I think, is a little different. You had teachers back in the segregated school that really, really cared about you. I think when integration came, you had teachers that did not look like us that were not really concerned about whether you progressed or not. And that's still today. You have young black kids that are going to these integrated schools that they are branding them at an early age. And I think that is not right. So, But if you had a kid back in the day with the segregation, the teacher would know the parents. The principal would know you, know the parents, and they gave them an education, the best that they had to give.
Going backwards, your family's farm. Did you guys experience because I don't know a lot about Leland, but did white people come on the farm, or were they jealous that you guys had a farm, or did they ever, come on your land, and did you have any racial experiences or racism experiences related to that?
No, we lived in a segregated community.
Okay.
And we didn't see many white folks come through there.
Okay.
And because they knew what it was. But we had a store, local store, that at the end of the street that we would trade with when we wouldn't go to Wilmington. And the store owner, I was told later, I don't know for sure, but he was a Klansman.
Oh my God.
Yes, that really preyed on the community as per se. Now, my brother, he can speak more to it than I can because he worked for it.
The Klansman?
Yeah.
Oh, we need to hear about that. Did you know he was a Klansman when he was working for him?
No, we didn't
Jesus.
know. It came out later what he was. But let me tell you a little story behind that. Back in 1948, I think it was, they started to put the power lines into our community because we were.
Oh, y'all didn't have power.
We didn't have power until about 1948, and so you had to run the power across his property.
The Klansman?
The Klansman property. He would not allow that.
Oh my God.
But the people in the community were supporting him because they were going to his store. So what the power company did, they had to cut a path through another way to get down through our community.
He had that much power that
they had all the power. We had no power.
Did you guys have any other experience with the Ku Klux Klan?
Well, the same people, they tried to intimidate our community and parents and all. And so my daddy and his brothers and some of the community people, they were not going to have it. So they were trying to stand up for the community. So they heard the Klans was going to come through and do their thing.
Jesus.
So they said, okay, come on through. So they all, armed themselves and hid out, space through the community.
The black men?
The black men. And said, come on.
I was a part of that.
Oh my God.
Said,
You weren't
on.
scared? Y'all weren't scared?
I was.
I was gone. I was gone
okay.
at that time. Said, come on through. And they got word. They didn't show up.
Wow. Now, Mr. Beatty, at what point did you go into the military? Why did you go in the military? Because I know he's talking about school, but at what point did you go into the military?
I went into the military a year. Well, I graduated from high school in 1955 in May or June, May. And so I went in the military in September of 1955. Why? I could not find a job in there. There were no employment for young people, nothing.
Young blacks.
Young blacks, yeah. I would get up in the morning, come from Leland to Wilmington, and walk all around the waterfront or the malls or where you didn't have malls, but all of the big stores and etc. The beach, the longshoremen, and all that. The only job that I was able to find was sometime in July or August. I got a job. They started building Sunny Point down there. So I worked down there for a month, making 95 cents an hour, all day long.
Was that good back then or no? Okay.
No. And so I decided that one of my friends came home who had been in the military. And we were talking. He'd gone here, gone to all these places. That sounded like something to do. And I went in the military on those bases.
And what was it, segregated or desegregated?
They hadn't long desegregated. And so when I went in, I was blessed. I had a chief that, he was I was just a little fella, not knowing anything about just leaving home, just leaving for my mama's skirt tail. And this guy, he came on, and it was about 5 or 6 of us came aboard ship at the same time. And this chief would come. He came up and he looked us up and down, and he would say, "Where are you from?" "I'm from North Carolina." He said, "You stand over there." I said, "Where are you from?" "I'm from New York." He said, "You stand over there." And all of the people that was in that line, all the southern boys, he stood them on this side. All the northern boys, he stood them on this side. And,
Why?
New York, Chicago, they had a bad reputation, those kids out of there. The southern boys off the farm, they knew tractors, they just worked on different projects and all that.
So what was it like being a black man in the military at that time?
If you done what you were told to do and listen, and listen, you were okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I have an uncle who was in the military. He would tell me stories where they didn't give them guns. They had to chase rabbits.
What are you
Is that, you don't know nothing about that?
No. Right off. First I heard it.
Oh. Do you, being in the military as a black man, then are you still pro black men going into the military?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. I think, in fact, going into the military is a great start for anybody who is disciplined, want to learn, and is able to do what is told to do and just study hard. I think it's great.
You brought up an interesting point when you asked him how much was that a lot of money?
Yeah.
$95 an hour. I'd like to expound upon that.
Yeah.
The community that we grew up in, and my brother said that he would go to Wilmington to look for jobs, but there were jobs in our community: fertilizer factory, pre-salt factories. They were one step above slavery.
Oh my God.
Yes. So they would work you to death in unfit conditions, and which would eventually kill off a lot of folks from cancer and different type things. There are brownfield sites and other sites still there in the black community that we grew up in. They've got a big site now. They're trying to clean up with the creosote and stuff. So the black folks lived around the contaminated areas, and they had a lawsuit brought against the companies who work there, so they're still trying to clean it up. Another thing is that we're fighting the PFAS. The Cape Fear River has been dumped. Now DuPont came and put a plant in right in our community, and they would dump their waste in the Cape Fear River. Now, growing up, we used to fish along the Cape Fear River, and that has been taken away from us. We can't eat the food. We're not eating contaminated stuff there. So the black community was a catch-all. You don't see people of the opposite race this stuff in their community because they put it there, kill us, and try to leave. So we're still suffering from that aspect of it now.
I want to get into your journey after high school. But before I get into that, were there certain places in Wilmington that you knew that you couldn't go? Did you guys go to Wilmington often, or did you kind of stay in? And if you did venture out, was there certain places that you couldn't go and you knew like an unspoken rule of where you could go and where you couldn't go?
There were definitely a segregation in Wilmington. The places that blacks could go and would go is 4th Street. Yeah, 4th Street was it. You did all your shopping. You came over, you did your shopping. You did all the other stuff right there on 4th Street. Now, I do remember an incident that happened during the sit-ins. My brother here, he came home from the Navy, and we went downtown to the counter, which was it Woolworth? Cress, one of the counters there, and people were sitting there. Now, at my age at that particular time, I was not fully aware of the political ramifications of what was going on. So we had people that came in, and I remember distinctly, a black young guy came in that was selling the Wilmington Journal papers. So he went in and got him some ice cream, and getting out, I told my brother, I said, I sure would like to have one of those. He said, you will, but not here.
Right.
I still remember that. I went and said, well, he always do this and that. Why now? But he was supporting the boycott.
Wow.
We wouldn't do nothing. If they're boycotting, we're going to boycott.
Wow.
So that was, and I remember that all the years. He probably don't remember, but I do.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's one of the things. But yeah, we had the black clubs, the black restaurants. You did all your shopping right there on 4th Street. Now, you did have some stores, some department stores like Efforts, Efforts, and others that were down there would let you come in on the bottom floor to spend your money and get out. You couldn't use the restrooms. In theaters, that's right. They had black and white signs on the water fountains at the courthouse. I remember, that was. This is true. Yeah, bus stations. So Jim Crow was a legalized segregation.
Right. I think I'm bouncing around a little bit. 1898. How did you guys come to know about that? And I ask because a lot of people, especially a lot of black people, don't know, younger people don't know about the 1898 riots. How did you guys come to find out about that? Was there any like specific impacts that you felt knowing about it? Did your parents tell you about it? Like how did you know?
Parents didn't talk about it. The way that we found out about it, when I retired and came back around, I talked to my brother here, and we decided we were going to form a tour business. And in order to do that, we had to research what we were going to tour,
Right.
and where it was going to be in the black community. Through our research, we heavily delved into the 1898 and other aspects of the black community, and that's basically the way I found out about it.
Oh, so not even your parents didn't talk about it? Was that for a reason?
They didn't know. They didn't know. And even the schools didn't talk about it. They didn't teach us anything about 1898. We found out about it, like he said, after we had gone away, been in the military, and came back around.
Wow. I want to delve into your journey, right? So it seems like, where did you go after high school? What were your next steps?
I went to North Carolina A&T State University.
Oh, okay.
Aggie Fry.
Aggie Fry. What made you want to go there?
I had an older brother, George, my brother George, who passed last year. That's where he matriculated from. He went there first. And he was there when I went there as far as he gave them their first computer science center, basically.
Oh, wow.
He was responsible for that.
What year did you go?
I went from 68 to 72.
Wow.
Yep.
Tell them how George got to A&T.
George got to A&T by being at the black high school I told you about. The principal there, James F. Clemens, and he was a Columbia grad. He knew the president, chancellor at A&T. So he told my brother, he said, get in the car, boy. So George got in the car, and he went up there with the principal, and he walked into the chancellor's office at A&T, and he told him they were for first name basis. He said, I got a boy out there that I think you'll be all right up here. He said, take him and look out for him. That's how my brother George got there. Yeah. So,
What did he go to school for?
electrical engineering.
And what did you go to school for?
Business administration. I spent a couple of years, I was officer in the Army. Spent a couple of years there. And then I went into the industry and worked there for 20-some years. Retired.
It seems like you have a very passionate passion towards Black history and educating Black people and just digging into some of the Black history. Where does that come from?
It comes from the lack of it being exposed to it growing up here, and knowing the difference that it could make in people's lives if you do. You even see now where they're trying to ban books. And that's one of the reasons why, because if you don't know, then you're subject to make the same mistake over again. But if you know and you're educated enough, then you should be able to make a difference in the world, and not try to ban stuff, but have more of it at your disposal. So I'm glad that you are doing stuff like what you're doing here. So maybe that'll open some people's minds up to see where from whence we've come, where we need to go.
It's very scary to think about. We know, like I remember when I went to Charlotte, and my now sister-in-law, I'll be talking to her about like Emmett Till and different things like that, and they didn't really know a lot about it. But we just knew a lot about it. We were interested in it. But now, there's this big initiative to remove Black history from the curriculum. I think they're already making steps towards that in some states. Like if you speak about different Black history things, there'll be fines and things of that nature. Like, what are your thoughts about that?
My thoughts is that people are always going to try to hold you back, hold you down. But they've tried to eradicate us and inhumane things towards our people for over 200, 300 years, and they haven't succeeded. I don't think that they will succeed with that. You might have some temporary setbacks, but I think it's out. The word is out.
It's interesting you say you don't think that they will succeed. I look at a lot of, and again, we were talking about this a little bit in the previous interview, looking at 6888, right? I said, those women had nothing, but they excelled beyond. They excelled with literally nothing. We have everything, and I don't feel like Black people excel the way they should. So it always makes me ask the question, where did that disconnect come into play, right? We went from, Mr. Master was talking about, your families had names, you guys had character. They knew, okay, here come the Beatty, so, everybody knew each other type situation, and you had pride in your family's name. And now, not so much. Where do you think the disconnect came in? Like, do you think it was the music, Motown, all different? Like, where do you think the disconnect came in?
I think the disconnect probably came in with a lot of it. With that's a good question. But, no, but I'm thinking, I'm putting thought in it. A lot of it comes from schools situation. You got a lot of kids out there now who are just lost, and they don't get the proper training at home. And when they go to school, you can't expect the teacher to give it to them. Right? So you got to have home discipline, home training. We were fortunate that we had that, and that propelled us in life. But you got a lot of kids out here that are completely lost with that, undisciplined. And, they're building prisons and being incorporated into these things every day. And once you get into the system like that, then it's going to have that disconnect that you were talking about.
I'm going to do a little bit of a left turn here. Another thing, especially in my age group, in the podcast era, relationships. Have you been married?
Yes.
Okay, so both of you guys have been married. There is a conversation now, a huge conversation in Black culture, like huge, about men. They want women to pay bills. A lot of people believe that. A lot of women are thinking that men should be the provider, and in saying that means you pay the bills, you build a house, like you need to be up here and you're the head. This whole Black woman against Black man thing is so strong in our community. What do you think about that? Because I don't know if we have a understanding of provider. And I'm saying that to say that I feel like some of us look and be like, oh, well, our parents, our dads, our granddads, they did this, they did that. We didn't have to work. We didn't have to, do all these things. You said your mom, she, basically took care of the house. And now it's a huge initiative for women to desire a man that's going to cover them financially. What are your thoughts on that?
I look at it. I guess I might be old school, but I think what we've been talking about the whole time is the history of our races and the role that women have played in our races throughout that. So I respect that, and I look forward to working with women. I like to see women, Black women particularly, excel, exceed, do well, and I have done everything in my life to support that effort. I have never, expect a woman to pay for me to do anything. I have always supported them.
Oh, wow.
As far as what they wanted to do in my life.
So you were the breadwinner.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't hold that against them because they were if they were supportive as far as raising families, this type of thing. No, I understand what you're saying. You got some men out there that say, well, women shouldn't do this. In our last election, you had some people in the community that didn't want a woman to be in charge.
Right.
That's crazy to me.
Right.
I say to a lot of people, and I tell you that women, if it wasn't for a woman, I wouldn't be here. And they raised me and had performed that. So I look forward to women advancing, women being the best that they can very possibly can be. That does me good. I have 2 daughters, and I've always pushed them to excel and to be forthcoming, and they have been. So that's the way I feel about it.
I feel that it should be a shared responsibility and not one-sided. But I'll go along with
Wait, now when you say share, so when you were growing up, and I'm just trying, I know that I might look at it differently. Everybody didn't grow up maybe the way I grew up or whatever. Now women are saying that the man should be the provider, paying all the bills, so you don't believe in that?
No, not paying all of the bills. If, because today a lot of women are making more than a man, or as much as a man, and that's going to continue. And that's why I said I think it should be shared. There should be an understanding.
So, okay, that's interesting. So like black men now, a lot of them can't nail a nail. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of them, even as you were saying, a lot of black women are out earning black men. There's a huge argument as well that says that black men need to kind of catch up. Women are surpassing them financially, surpassing them to where women feel like they don't even need a man because they can do more stuff than most men can. Do you agree with that?
I not really. I think that, like my brother said, it should be a shared responsibility, and other people bring things into a relationship other than money. You got to look at what you have and what you can make with what you have. If a man is a garbage collector and he's a good man, then what you going to look down on him for? If a woman is a CEO of a company, what is she going to do? What is she going to do? I mean,
a lot of women are saying that they don't want a truck driver. Not me. I'm not saying that.
That what I'm saying. I use that as a stark,
right.
as a stark contrast.
Right.
But she might not need a truck driver or want a truck driver, but she could do something that somebody else has chosen a path not congruent with what she is doing. So as long as you, and I think love and compatibility has a whole lot of stuff to say about that. So, if you choosing people to love just because of their social status, then I think that you're looking at it the wrong way.
I agree. What message would you want to tell those before you, the youth now? Like, what would be the main message that you would want to relay to them?
I think you ought to have an open mind, an open heart, and open your mind to what's going on around you. And look at yourself in the mirror and say, where did I come from? What can I do to improve my life and my children's lives? Because if you have kids and you really care, then you want them to do better than you. You want them to be exposed to what you have been exposed to in a positive way, not in a racialized way. A lot of people don't realize that they're still being discriminated against today. They think, well, we got it more, we can do this.
Right.
But that's not true. Blacks still have a way to climb the ladder. They need to do that. So yeah, that's the way I would look at it. That's why I would tell them today to work vigilantly as far as improving themselves. And if you improve yourself, you improve the community. That's all. Education. Education and education. The more you know about the truth, the better you're going to be to promote yourself. That's why you're looking at people trying to ban books, trying to ban black history in schools. And you notice it all sorts back to education. Slaves were not allowed to read or write. Why? Education. It all goes to there. So educate yourself and be prompt with what you do.
I appreciate you doing what you were doing, and hopefully that it will resonate with a lot of people, and help the more young people understand where we were and where we are now,
where we need to be going. Right.
Yeah, I'm appreciative of you coming down and doing this to try to enlighten people about your podcast. Hopefully that you will come back and do a segment about reuse job or that community in Nevada, which is now it's going through a tremendous change. It's all predominantly black community. It's 95% predominantly black today. 10 years from now, I doubt it would be 50% black. So that's how for much the development is coming in, and that's how they are changing the character of the So I'm so glad that we have some structures there that we can have remind the kids to coming up that their foreparents were not lazy and shiftless, but just able to survive and thrive during the time of legalized segregation.
Jesus, I might need to come to y'all farm and get some footage, because you still have that property, right? Yeah, we've been there. Yeah, it's not going nowhere.
No.
But you know, that's another thing. Like Black people, sometimes we can be our own worst enemy. I feel like we have a long way to go when it comes to generational wealth, and that being something of importance. Black people will sell something for $1 really quick, and then we won't have no money in a couple of years. Like, we don't believe in keeping that property and building that legacy for our children.
Our families are well educated. They know that what they have, the value of what they have, and I don't think. Now, of course, everything can be bought to a degree.
Right.
If you get outrageous with it, now
right.
you might have to consider it. But for what they're trying to do now out there now, some of it they would never sell at all. Farm part, we had a house and stuff, that's going to be there. But we have other land out there.
Is the outhouse still out there? The outhouse?
No.
Oh, okay. I was just curious.
It's big, no.
I would love to see it when she tell me we had time. So thank you guys so much.